Today in art, we're going to talk about what proportion is. So proportion is the size relationship between two or more objects. It can also be how the parts fit together to make a whole. Classical proportions require quite a bit of measuring and math. If you look over here at this portrait, and you see how they use the measurements to make a classical portrait. Now, not everyone's face would fall right in those lines, but it gives you the basic idea of where faces would go. And a lot of artists use these measurements to do their portraits. A change in proportion can change the way you look at things. Accurate proportions are used more when creating realistic images. Distorted proportions, like the one here on the right, is used for more cartoons and imaginary images. So if you think about it, a chick wouldn't really be that big. That is a disproportion. That means that they drew it way out of proportion compared to the man and the rest of the farm. And that is a imaginary image. And a lot of artists use this to help tell stories. Classical proportion was developed in the 1st century by a Roman architect named Vitruvius. He believed that the human body was the best example of proportion. If you look at Greek and Roman sculpture, you can see how they really grasp the concept of realistic proportions. They also use the same measurements that we would use for measuring out how to draw a body. They would use the same concept and was considered the golden number in a lot of their architectural work as well. This skill that was developed during the Roman Empire was mainly lost during the Middle Ages, as you can look at artwork from that time and see that the proportions in the paintings were exaggerated and not quite always right. The idea of proper proportion was rediscovered during the Renaissance, which is the 14 to 1600s. Here is another example of where proportion has been exaggerated to help tell a very funny fish tale. Can you think of any other artwork that has exaggerated or realistic proportions?